Welcome to Love and Tears, the place where stories find a heartbeat. If you're here, you're one of us. Don't forget to like this video, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe so you never miss the next unforgettable tale. Now make yourself comfortable. This one starts on a spring evening that smelled like lilacs and second chances. It was a Thursday. The kind of calm that settles on a suburban street after dinner rush and before the stars come out. The air was warm with the scent of freshly cut grass, and the world had that rare hush, like it was holding its breath, just for you. I was in the kitchen apron, tied tight, stirring a pot of Emmett's favorite stew, a recipe passed down from my grandmother, humming along with whatever soft tune the radio gave me. Our house was the same as always, a little worn, a little loved, and filled with the sort of quiet that felt safe. Emmett, my husband, was stretched out in the living room, shouting at the basketball game, like one of the coaches could hear him through the screen. We'd had a good day. Nothing dramatic, nothing special. The kind of day you don't realize you cherish until the ordinary becomes memory. Then the doorbell rang. I paused, wiped my hands, and looked over. "Were you expecting someone?" I asked. He muted the TV and shook his head. "Nope." Curious, I opened the front door, and there he was. A tall man in his early 60s, holding a bottle of wine and a duffel bag, wearing a weathered leather jacket and a crooked smile. "Hey, he said like no time had passed. "Been a while?" Emmett's eyes widened in surprise. "No way!" "Cal Morgan, the very same." Cal stepped forward and laughed, embracing Emmett like two teenagers reunited at a reunion. He had been Emmett's college roommate, best man at our wedding, and a ghost for the last 20 years. Last we'd heard, he'd moved to Oregon, opened a cafe, got divorced, and then drifted out of our lives. "What are you doing here?" Emmett asked, still grinning. Cal shrugged, smile lopsided. "Just passing through. Thought I'd drop by. Hope that's okay." "More than okay," I said, offering a warm smile. "I made too much stew anyway." He stepped inside like someone walking into a museum of their own youth. He looked around slowly, taking in the little knickknacks, the slightly crooked picture frames. There was a quiet weight behind his eyes, something that didn't belong to travel alone. But I didn't ask, not yet. We ate together at the old oak table, where the candles flickered gently and stories flowed like wine. Cal told wild tales from their college days, some familiar, some outrageous. And we laughed like the years between us had folded into nothing. But something was different. Cal watched me, not inappropriately, just carefully. Like he was noticing, like he wasn't seeing the woman I used to be, but the one I'd become. It was a strange feeling being noticed, really noticed, after years of blending into the fabric of routine. Later, Emmett excused himself to take a call from his brother that turned into a whole family saga. Cal and I were left in the soft lamplight of the living room, wine in hand, the room warm with silence. "You haven't changed much," Cal said quietly, twirling his glass. I smiled. "You need glasses. I'm not talking about your face." He said, his voice gentle. "I mean your light. It's still there." I didn't know what to say. My chest felt tight, not from the wine, but from the weight of his words. Sincere, honest, unexpected. I'm glad you came, I finally whispered. Me too, he said. And then he paused. Truth is, I didn't just happen to be in the area. I looked at him. I planned this, he said. I've been lost. And I thought maybe if I came back to something familiar, I could find my way again. Now I saw it, the weariness in his shoulders, in the way his smile sometimes faltered. It wasn't travel fatigue. It was the weight of too many storms, too many goodbyes. You're always welcome here, Cal, I told him. And for the first time that night, his whole body softened. Not just his expression, but something deeper, something that hadn't rested in years. Thank you for still being here with us at Love and Tears. If you're watching up to this point, you're not just a viewer, you're part of the story. Leave it in the comments if you've ever felt something stir inside you that you couldn't quite name until it stayed. Let's continue. Thank you. Cal said that night, his voice almost a whisper. That means more than you know. Just then, Emmett walked back into the room, still on the tail end of his phone call, and the moment between Cal and me dissolved into the air like mist. But something had shifted, something subtle but undeniable. A current humming just beneath the stillness. I didn't know what it meant. I didn't even try to label it. But it wasn't an affair. It wasn't betrayal. It was something raw, something human, a reconnection, a quiet reminder of a self I hadn't seen in a long time, the version of me that felt visible. That night, lying in bed beside Emmett, already asleep, breathing deep and steady, my mind drifted not to anything scandalous, just to Cal. And to the way he had looked at me. Like I mattered, like I still had some kind of light left in me worth seeing. The next morning was quiet, too quiet. Emmett had left early to help his cousin with a roofing project, something he'd mentioned the night before, but I hadn't thought twice about. So when I walked into the kitchen and saw Cal sitting there, hair mussed, same shirt from yesterday, fingers curled around a steaming mug, it caught me a little off guard. Morning, he said softly, looking up with that half smile. Morning, I replied, clutching my robe tighter out of reflex. Sleep okay, he asked. He nodded. Better than I have in weeks. That couch of yours, magic. I laughed gently. Yeah, it saved more lost souls than I can count. We sat there in the quiet hum of a sleeping neighborhood. No TV, no Emmett, just two mugs, the fridge humming, and the kind of silence that felt full of possibility and tension. Cal glanced toward the window. Still feels peaceful here, he said, like time hasn't touched it. And yet, everything's different. I took a sip of coffee. That's life in your 50s. Everything familiar, but nothing quite the same. He turned to me then, that same steady, watchful gaze. You ever think about how we got here, he asked. The roads we took, or didn't. I leaned against the counter. Sometimes, but not too much. That kind of thinking can get heavy real fast. He nodded slowly, like someone who understood the weight firsthand. After breakfast, we ended up walking together. I had to run to the market, and he offered to come along. The sun was gentle, trickling through the trees in that way that made everything feel touched by gold. We took the long path, the one that wound through the old park, past the pond, past those aging oaks we used to picnic under in younger days. It was quiet, too beautiful for chatter. As we neared a bench shaded by branches, Cal broke the silence. "I almost called you once," he said. "Years ago, after my divorce. I even dialed the number." I looked at him. "But you didn't." He shook his head. "I didn't know what I wanted. And I didn't want to complicate things." I turned toward him, the light filtering through the trees, catching the gray in his hair. "Cal, I'm not someone who needs protecting from messy things. Life is messy." He smiled sadly. "I know, but you've always been light to me. Even back then. You had this calm warmth about you. Made me feel like maybe I wasn't too far gone." His voice caught a little cracking softly, like a branch under weight. I didn't know what to say. One part of me wanted to pat his shoulder and offer him the comfort of friendship. But another part, a quieter, buried part, just wanted to be still in this closeness. So I reached out, not with intent, just instinct. My fingers brushed his for barely a second, but the look on his face said it was everything. "Cal," I said quietly, "you don't have to carry all of this alone." He looked up, and his words settled somewhere deep inside me. "Neither do you." That stayed with me. We walked back in silence sometimes, brushing hands, but never mentioning it. At home, I made lunch. We told old jokes, laughed, kept the surface light like nothing had shifted, but something had. When Emmett returned that afternoon, Cal slid right back into the role of the rowdy best friend. Loud, charming, joking about football stats, and teasing Emmett about his receding hairline. It all seemed normal again, the laughter, the rhythm, but underneath the noise, a ripple remained. "You're still here with us, and that means everything." From all of us at Love and Tears, thank you for walking through this story, moment by moment. If you've ever been reminded of who you are by someone unexpected, leave it in the comments. We'd love to know you're out there. Now the final chapter begins. That night, after Cal had gone to bed, back on the couch with the extra pillow I'd quietly left for him, I stayed up finishing the dishes. Emmett had already gone to bed, worn out from the sun and swinging clubs all day. The window above the sink was cracked just enough to let the breeze in. Cool air kissed my skin, and for a few seconds I closed my eyes. I didn't think about the laundry or the to-do list or even tomorrow. I thought about Cal, the way he'd looked at me, not as someone he used to know, but as someone he still wanted to understand. It wasn't love. Not yet. It wasn't even romance, but it was real stirring and unexpected. And it made me wonder what else I had forgotten how to feel. The next morning, the air in the house felt thicker, like every unsaid word had decided to linger in the corners. Cal was still there for breakfast, still kind, still helpful, but quieter now, guarded. I recognized it immediately because I was doing the same. Emmett had a tea time with Paul and left shortly after breakfast, dropping a kiss on my cheek and offering Cal a wave. "Be back by dinner?" he called out cheerfully, just like that. We were alone again. We cleaned up the kitchen, moving silently around each other, like dance partners, trying not to step on buried feelings. As I reached for a dish towel, he finally broke the quiet. I should probably head out today, he said, drying his hands. I've already stayed too long. I turned to him, holding his gaze. You're not imposing, Cal. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Still, I don't want to overstay. I leaned back against the counter and studied him. Are you leaving because you want to, or because you're afraid of staying? That stopped him. He met my gaze, and for a moment, everything inside him was unguarded, raw. I don't want to cause trouble, he said. You haven't, I replied. Not yet. He let out a soft laugh. That yet says everything. I should have changed the subject. I should have walked away. But I didn't. Because something in me, something I hadn't listened to in years, kept whispering, stay. Say it. Feel it. You're not the only one confused, I said quietly. I don't know what this is either, but I feel it too. Cal stepped closer, slowly, like waiting for a door to close in his face. I didn't move. I keep thinking about how different life could have been, he said. If I'd said something back then, what would you have said, I asked. He hesitated, then spoke barely above a whisper. That I always felt something for you. Even when I knew I shouldn't. The words sank deep, soft, and heavy, like a stone dropped into still water. The only sound was the clock on the wall, ticking like a heartbeat. Then he reached out. His fingers brushed mine. It was just a touch, but I didn't pull away. It sat there between us, like a question we weren't brave enough to ask out loud. I don't want to hurt Emmett, I said, my voice trembling. Neither do I, he answered. We stood like that, suspended between past and present, right and wrong. But we didn't cross the line. Cal stepped back, his eyes wet, his voice tight. You're a good woman. Better than I deserve to be near right now. He grabbed his coat. I'll pack up, he said. I'll be gone before Emmett gets home. I didn't stop him. I just stood there, heart-pounding, eyes stinging, realizing how something could feel so full and so empty at the same time. An hour later, the front door clicked shut. Just like that. Cal was gone when Emmett came home, whistling golf bag slung over his shoulder. I was stirring stew in the kitchen. Did Cal head out? He asked, setting his bag by the door. Yeah, I said, still facing the stove. Said he needed to hit the road. Left a note. He walked over and kissed my temple, wrapping an arm around my waist. He's a good guy, he said. Always was. I leaned into him, smiled. Yeah, I whispered. He really is. But inside, something shifted. It wasn't guilt, it wasn't regret. It was a sudden, powerful clarity. I had forgotten parts of myself. Forgotten how it felt to be seen, to be stirred, to feel something beyond comfort, something alive. And I didn't know what to do with that. Not yet. Weeks passed. No call from Cal. No letter. And I didn't reach out either. Life returned to its rhythm. Quiet breakfast, evening news, phone calls, with the kids' folded, laundry-watered plants. The kind of ordinary that can seem cozy, unless you're listening too closely to your own thoughts. But something had changed. Not in my marriage. Emmett was still Emmett. Steady, faithful, kind. A man who'd walked through decades with me, who held my hand through sickness and joy, through births and goodbyes. I loved him. I had never not loved him. But love and aliveness, they aren't always the same thing. And I hadn't let myself admit that, not until Cal walked through our front door. He didn't seduce me. He didn't even try. He just saw me. Really, truly saw me. And in doing that, he reminded me of the woman I used to be. And the woman I still was. That stayed with me. One night, maybe a month later, I was on the back porch sipping tea. Wrapped in a sweater, watching moonlight stretch across the lawn. Emmett was inside, watching a documentary. The warm light from the windows made gold rectangles on the grass. I thought about Cal, not with longing, but with clarity. I thought about the kitchen, the quiet, the way he said my name like it mattered. It wasn't about romance. It was about recognition. That moment held up a mirror I hadn't even known I needed. And in that reflection, I saw a woman with wonder still in her chest. A woman who still had the capacity to be stirred. I didn't feel ashamed. I felt human. Later that night, sliding into bed beside Emmett, I looked at him, really looked, his face softened by time. The man I had chosen and who had stayed. "Hey," I whispered. He stirred. "I've been thinking," I said. "I want us to go somewhere. Just the two of us. The coast, maybe. Or the mountains." He blinked open his eyes, surprised. "Really?" I nodded. "Yeah, I think we need something new. A reset." He reached for my hand, his fingers warm and familiar. "I'd like that," he said. We never talked about Cal again. I never told Emmett how close we came to crossing a line. And maybe I never will, because that moment wasn't about betrayal. It was about rediscovery. And it led me home to myself and back to this marriage in a way I hadn't expected. The next morning, I found the note Cal left behind. I hadn't read it before, maybe I was afraid to. It was still there, tucked in the side drawer between old receipts and a spare key. I opened it. "Thank you for reminding me of who I used to be and who I might still become. Take care of your beautiful life, Callie." I held it for a long time, fingers tracing the edges. And then I smiled, because in those few days, I hadn't found a man. I hadn't found romance. I found myself. A version of me I'd let drift quietly away. And because of that, I could return to my own life with softer eyes and a fuller heart. Maybe we only get a few of those moments in a lifetime. The ones that wake us up, that shift how we see everything, that arrive on your doorstep and leave behind more than they take. Cal had been one of those moments for me, and the rest was mine to carry forward.